Hey, what's up guys, it's Oakley, and this is going to be an awesome battle back in Rome too. This is going to be a classic matchup. It's going to be the Gauls versus the Romans. I'm in the defense with two Gallic armies. One is obviously going to be controlled by my ally, and we're buttoned up here on the hill. I have different chosen swordsmen, Gallic warriors, oathsworn, a handful of slingers sprinkled on top. And meanwhile, the Romans are deployed around the city. So we're going to be starting to move around. I did bring one Scorpion force that presumably raided from a Roman supply depot or even captured on the battlefield. On top of that, I have a bunch of flaming balls, and that is necessary to cover all of these positions. If you guys haven't been introduced to these, well, you are going to in this video. They are going to be doing work. And the reason I brought a whole bunch of those, you can see them sprinkled around, two there, one over here. The reason I brought so many is because it's two Gallic armies against three Roman ones, so we're in for a hell of a lot of hurt. This city is awesome. It's multiple tiered with actually a nice position over here that actually isn't deployable by the defender, and so the attacker can come, put units over here and shoot into this position, shoot into the main courtyard. So that's why I really like this. It's a very nice asymmetrical siege, makes it very interesting. Another thing that the Romans did is they had initially deployed all of their forces here, but then in the last 5 seconds of the deployment phase, they switched everything to the sides. That's something you'll see players do to throw the defenders off guard. And so that happened in this battle. But doesn't matter, they're still going to be funneled up against our walls. And the distance, I mean, yeah, the Roman forces approaching a hilltop position like this really reminds me of the Siege of Alesia, which, come to think of it, is a nice little segue. The reason I'm actually showing this video is because I am working on a documentary on the Siege of Alesia. It's going to be the next in our Moments episode series. This one is going to focus on kind of the historical facts that fall through the cracks. And what I mean by that is when you think Alesia, you think of the climactic battle between Caesar and Vercingetorix, where essentially you have a Gallic army of Vercingetorix cooped up inside Alesia. Caesar, kind of, if we zoom out here, builds a huge wall of circumvallation to hem them in, and then a Gallic army comes to reinforce, and that one comes and attacks Caesar from the outside. So it's a huge monster siege for the fate of Gaul, essentially. But what I'm going to be taking is another aspect of that engagement, and that is not necessarily the historical headlines, but kind of page 3 of the newspaper article. And that page 3 is going to be the fact that the citizens of Alesia, the non-combatants, were utterly and completely abandoned in that engagement by both Vercingetorix and Caesar, who were willing to trade almost anything to achieve victory. And so in that video, it's going to be called Tragic Moments, the Abandoned Citizens of Alesia. We'll be covering that aspect of the battle. And that's one of the things I really want to do with the Moments series, is cover stuff that's not traditional. While we're shouting things out, I do also want to give the opportunity to shout out my Twitter page. I just set up a Twitter page, and I intend to beef that up. Same thing with the Facebook page that I set up last quarter. The idea with the Twitter page, and it's called, the handle is Invicta History. The idea behind it is to be able to talk history, give you guys updates on what I'm working on, so I don't have to just give you a plug in the random video. I can actually put it on a dedicated platform for that. So on the Invicta History on Twitter, and even on Facebook, if you want to follow me there, I'll link below, you'll be able to get updates on the documentaries, as well as a bunch of other things. So for instance, what I've been posting now is, hey, I'm thinking of doing this topic next. And here are the, here are the books that I'm doing. So for instance, for this one, I'm using Julius Caesar's The Conquest of Gaul. I'm also using Caesar, The Life of a Colossus by Adrian Goldsworthy, and then The Roman Army by Chris McNabb. So I'll post that up. I'll also post the status. I'll post teasers of the video, what's been produced thus far, and some of the artwork that I've created. So you'll get a bunch of behind-the-scenes stuff. I'll also be running polls and various other things on Twitter. So if you're interested in the history side of things, definitely check me out there. Meanwhile, what's been going on? Well, the Romans are storming with their veteran legions. We can imagine this is the 10th Legion pushing forward Caesar's own. I did bring some units up here, or I'm going to try and get some enfilading shots into the Romans, which are completely disembarking onto my front lines here. I've committed one of my warriors to this front, but now I'm going to get attacked from multiple sides. I can hold this pretty well because I have 2 towers in support, and I have slingers massed over in this position. Really cheap troops, but firing into the backs of the Romans, they're going to take a real toll on them. But the enemy at this point has captured, or at least neutralized the tower, so that covering fire is going to be chipped away. So I'm a little bit worried. Yeah, these veteran legions are doing work. So one Oathsworn is holding out. I throw in another Oathsworn just to hold them. And the mass of Roman infantry is going to start to clamber up the walls. This is such epic stuff. There you go. Everyone moving up. And he brought a huge contingent of Syrian archers to the fight. These would have probably been Gallic auxiliaries had it been, had this actually been historical. But anyways, he's going to be firing, covering shots into this. I'm a little worried about that because he's starting to pick apart my troops. And he's actually moving in with some Balearic slingers up top. So I'm going to try and get in at that. But I'm a little worried about him shooting into my infantry. You can see some shots already starting to get underway. So I'm going to pull out of that position. Meanwhile, over here, I realize that he's got a lot staring at the walls. And so I'm going to move around with 3 Gallic warrior units. These guys are relatively cheap, but that's fine. They're just meant to be a distraction and an attack around the side. So this is essentially what happened to Caesar. He was attacking the main defenses of Lycia, or better I should say, he was trying to starve it out. And then a Gallic reinforcement army came around with a lot of infantry and some cavalry. And so that's what you're seeing here on a miniature scale. Let's go back and watch this because this is definitely a cinematic fight. His Balearics are starting to get lined up. They're going to try and shoot into my guys, but I'm starting to get a bit of the edge. You can see these legionaries down to 42, and this one's getting double teamed and shot up a lot, so I should get the edge there. More troops are going to be pouring in, but I'm bringing in reinforcements. Same with my ally. Take a look at what's happening over here. Well, the huge mass of Roman troops. This is, I think, 2 armies almost lined up. So this is where you wish you had catapults. But in this battle, the enemy actually ended up just making a rule that there was no artillery. I cheated a little bit and brought the Scorpion, but it's not going to be able to take out huge clusters of troops like this. But anyways, this is the big army that's going to come and greet us through the front. These towers getting lots of kills, but against legionaries and Praetorian Guard, it's going to take a while to chew through those units. I've told my ally to hold the pass for the time being. I put a lot of traps pre-battle, so these are the spike traps. They'll kill anything that passes through it, and so we're going to absorb all of this infantry. I mean, let's look at this. The gates have busted open. Speaking of gates busting open, we're getting a lot of boiling water, I guess, or boiling oil pouring on the units. Not really something attested to historically. They would have used hot sand or various other materials, but boiling oil and boiling water really is kind of something that was made up, at least that's my understanding, kind of the same way that you would think of fire arrows, where yes, maybe people use fire arrows on occasion, but it was nowhere nearly as widespread as you'd think. Man, this is some potent water. This has got to be some holy water or something. Jeez, we're getting so many kills here. And now the Romans are going to push forward, raising their scutums, and they're just at the edge of the spike traps. So you can see as they start to push up, and a couple of them are going to get sucked into these little sarlacc pits, so to speak. Yeah, let's see as they move up into the other ones. We also have Gallic hunters going to be firing into this position. Come on. Looks like he triggered it but didn't fall. This little nice column deployment that he's got here is conveniently missing all of the traps. Looks like a couple of them here got hit by it. Yeah, so when they do walk through the traps, they take a lot of damage. God, this is brutal. All of our archers are going to be preparing to fire over into this position. Let's take a look at what it looks like from the Gallic position here as you're watching Romans advance. There you go. An exchange of Pilla, so they're going to break out from their testudo formations and start to engage against our shield wall. But we're going to be able to hold this out pretty handedly. I believe we have a lot of like noble spears and things like that that can really hold the line. So the Romans are going to clash into us, but we have a lot of focus fire from above with our archers. Going to be firing into the flank here, doing a pretty good amount of damage, hitting some of the cavalry. The enemy is going to swarm in with more units, but an additional cluster. The archers are going to move up over here to try and shoot at our own guys. So this could prove to be pretty deadly. Meanwhile, in the back, what I've done is I've brought my Celtic warriors. Sorry, I was calling them Gallic warriors before. Celtic warriors, and they're going to be starting to tackle his veteran legions. One of them is going to be used to fix. The other is going to swarm around and fire into the flank. That's much more effective. And then the third one is going to go over here and reinforce my cavalry. The heavy horse was over here, and they had killed most of the enemy general's bodyguard unit. So that was a really nice snipe on my part. I was hidden most of the way. And then I went after some of his auxiliary and Syrian archers. I've been caught down by the veteran legionnaires who are going to do a lot of good work against me. But I would gladly trade this horse for the archers. I mean, the horses aren't going to do anything besides that against heavy infantry. They're not going to do much, so best to trade them against the archers. Could have done a bit more hit and run, but these archers would have just shot me up in the retreat, so I decided to kind of commit to that. And then I've got another Celtic warrior that's pushing up. He's starting to get some flank shots from the archers over there, but I'm going to close in on this auxiliary Syrian archer force with 2 units, actually. Meanwhile, the Romans have busted up through the front, so things are getting pretty dire here. More reinforcements going to be surrounding the chosen swords who have been thrown in. I've got more Oathsworn. Another tip for those of you who are defending is don't defend over here. Pull back, pull back, pull back. Hold a flank position where you can expose the enemy's sides, and this is where you're going to allow yourself to get, you know, well, at this point, my ally kind of botched it, but anyways, you open up a flank position when you're holding, so that it's not just a grinding fight, but it allows you to get nice supporting fire with your archers, cavalry strikes on the inside, really maximizes the damage. So that's how I'm trying to withstand here. On the inside, just outside the gate there, you can see the Romans are being caught on both sides in the pincer. So Celtic warriors were able to catch these Syrians, but the Roman legionnaires are here to close in on the back. That's something that Caesar would have had to do a lot at Alesia, and especially his legates, was coordinate all the Roman troops to make sure to beat back the Gauls where they were strongest with the dual-sided attack. That was the final climactic part of Siege of Alesia. Syrians are going to continue to fire, not the best of shots, but still, these Celtic warriors aren't that strong, so every little bit helps. And over here, I'm double teaming one of the Roman legions. And what I decide to do is disengage with one of them, and just prepare myself to fire again projectiles on the back. This is something I don't see a lot of people doing in Rome Total War, is just disengaging and allowing all of your missiles to be used, because you saw how many kills I got. It's much quicker, much more cost effective. And now we're going to face the Romans mano a mano. Celtic warriors are here going to drop super quickly. Same with my guys, but it's all about trading more cost effectively. The main brawl over here is still underway. Some Romans did poke through the Evocati, and they were starting to clobber some of my slingers. I was scared he was going to come over here and try and trigger these flaming balls beforehand and really, you know, prevent us from using these later on. But luckily he re-engaged against the cavalry. That being said, I'm starting to lose some Oathsworn, almost 100 kills with them. So they're really paying dividends for this engagement, but now we're starting to get a general collapse here. Things are not looking good. The Celtic warriors on the back were destroyed, and geez, man, now we're getting a chain rout. The entire Gallic defense force here basically starts to rout. Good thing we have reinforcements, so we're going to reestablish lines of defense, and this is where I'm actually going to bring around my Scorpion that has been waiting, and this is the moment that he needs to engage right here on the open ground where he gets a good position. So you're going to start to see him line up against the enemy. My ally is going to commit a lot. We're trying to defend these flaming balls because we know we need them later. Mind you, this is only one army. We have 2 more knocking at the gates. If we're going to go over here and see what happened, well, over in this positions, the Romans are continuing to try and clobber through the center. Mass carnage on both sides. Our archers are pretty much out of ammo. 138 kills on those Gallic hunters. That is absurd. We've got more units coming in. Gallic hunters here are going to be trying to trade with the Syrian auxiliary archers, and it looks like they did a good job of killing one of them. I believe that was in part... no, this tower... I was going to say, I thought it was in part due to the tower, but maybe... So, what I'm trying to get at is usually Gallic hunters don't trade with Syrians, but I think these guys were probably targeting our infantry, and so we were able to get a nice trade, although it looks like one of our guys was obliterated. So, man, the skirmishers here taking a lot of losses. But we really want to chip away at these Syrian archers. Those are the only real thing that can crack our defenses. We're throwing in more reinforcements. Chosen swordsmen can actually start to wrap around some of these Roman infantry. So they're getting winded, and they're going to start to get pretty depleted. My ally has his general here, the Spear Noble, and he's going to be able to kind of rally and help our guys. So I think in the long run, we should be okay. But then again, there's a second entire force coming in. A lot more units are going to be coming in, and they may even consider threatening this main gate, which is where you're seeing a lot of my units and other units streaming out. So this may prove a tempting second front for them to open up. But yeah, here goes our Gallic hunters. We can watch them as they shoot up the Syrians. Syrians not quite in position. Going to start taking facefuls of arrows. But these guys are pretty heavily armored, so it'll take a while to do appropriate amounts of damage to them. But thankfully, the shots that miss are going to hit these cavalry, so it's actually trading pretty well. A couple Romans are going to be routing this legionary cohort really with not many kills against chosen swordsmen and everyone here on shield wall. Holy crap, armor strength, bracing, melee defense, and shield strength, everything is really in our favor. Chosen spearmen can hold the line really well, so we're going to be doing good in this engagement. Especially, I think, with the archer fire that we were getting. That was awesome. Meanwhile, back in this engagement, my Celtic Scorpion here is firing, and he's firing straight into this blob of Romans. You just saw him pick off a unit, so this is starting to turn the tide. Like I said, again, I use the tactics of pulling out to the point where I can expose the enemy's flank, and this is where I'm going to shoot into it with Celtic skirmishers and then also my artillery. And now we're starting to get a bit of a general collapse. I pulled the enemy out here, also got a flank with my Celtic skirmishers. We're going to be shooting into these legionaries, and then with these Celtic slingers, I'm going to push them around the side to try and recapture this tower. More Romans are going to try and pour in to shore this up. Chosen swordsman here with 51, 101 kills though with 51 men, so each guy getting 2 kills at least. Or sorry, that doesn't make any sense. I'm trading 2 to 1, we'll put it that way. I decided to pull out. No need contesting the gate here. I'm going to pull out and wait for my Scorpion to get good damage, and look at this, a juicy blob of legionary cohorts, routing with 82 strength. That's definitely something I need to clean up. But more importantly, as they get out of range, I'm going to reprioritize on these veteran legionnaires. So 107 on them. Let's keep an eye as those bolts are going to start to come in. Some of the combat actually in the foreground being pretty exciting as well. But yeah, this tower also in close support. Those do tremendous amounts of damage. It's going to be really good. Haven't seen any of the shots come in. I'm not sure if they're going wide. Oh, looks like I've turned off fire at will. Yeah, I may have been saving ammo. But anyways, I cut off the retreat of these Romans. And the slinger is moving into the back again. Key positioning here. Always shoot into the back of a Roman if you can. And these are really cheap troops. 280 denarii compared to a Roman, which is like 800 denarii. And they are killing those Romans. I mean, let's see how many kills I have here. 55 already for a unit that costs almost nothing. Trading really cost effectively. And more importantly, it's not just about the kills. It's about how they make me trade on my other engagements. It's not only the fact that I'm killing Romans, but they're saving the lives of my Gauls, making everything that much more cost effective. So guys are going to start cheering because this is one army destroyed. Well worth the cheering. So there you go. Complete collapse of that force. Really helped by the fact that I sniped the enemy general. The last collapse of the enemy was really helpful. But still, odds are very much against us in this battle. The balance of power is still not in our favor. Look at the fields of damage here. So anyways, I'm going to pull back and kind of reassess my position. I know that the next engagement is going to take place here. The crush is on, not much tactics. We're trading pretty well, but I mean, 2 full armies charging into this, they're eventually going to break through, especially with the towers in close support. That's going to do a lot of damage, and the archers up here. So if my ally goes down at this choke point, that means we have nothing left. All we have is this little meager token force in the back, and of course the flaming balls, which are going to prove very important. So I'm going to tell my ally, hey, pull units out of this fight. Yes, it seems like you're holding, but ultimately fast forward and you're going to lose all these guys. So we're better off retreating and making use of these flaming balls, because we're losing out with the support of these towers. We're losing out with the archers firing into it, and so we really need to think better about this. The enemy's also going to try and open up another avenue. They have moved over some cavalry here, which are going to try and shoot at these gates, throw some torches. But luckily, these towers doing so much damage are going to be sniping all of these guys. So a lot of our emplacements here are going to be saving the day. Man, they snipe with every volley. They're going to be sniping a horseman. So these are the critical things you have to do in a siege. Really exploit the natural defenses here. Yeah, so shredding legionary cav that are super expensive. I'm also going to try and pull over with some Celtic slingers and other chosen swordsmen to try and counter the Roman blob. It looks like it's reconsidering. Again, our enemy was not very experienced this battle, which is why you're seeing major blobbing. But yeah, they're going to reconsider. They were just sitting there to defend, and I think they're going to loop them back around and try and throw more units into the blob here. And I mean, looking at this, it kind of looks cartoonish. Like, oh, look at all these troops blobbing. What the hell's going on? It seems boring. It seems stupid. But if you think about battles historically, especially sieges, you can just imagine lots and lots and lots of engagements were like this, especially for the siege of Jerusalem, which, again, pardon, that one's on hold. I'll get back to it after I'm done with the Moments pilot season. But back to the topic at hand, blobs of troops. There's many instances in the Siege of Jerusalem where the Romans finally open up a breach in the walls, pour in, and end up getting bogged down by Jewish reinforcements, and they spend from the break of dawn to the set of the sun in close confines, fighting within courtyards, within tunnels, within colonnades, all kinds of stuff like that. Man-to-man fighting. Yes, the Romans would be able to cycle in and out troops, same thing with the Jews, but it would be literally hours, if you could stand there, literally hours of this. And you can imagine if you're a frontline troop, you don't want to throw your life away. You're going to be very cautious. You're going to stab. You're going to be very... when there's no maneuvering, you're going to be very careful with how you take your engagements. Romans would like to maneuver and move around their opponent. But in close confines, all they could do was stab at the enemy. And yeah, their armor is worth it, but actually in the Siege of Jerusalem, the Jews were able to capture a lot of Roman armor from previous battles and even the siege itself, and were almost armored likewise to the legionnaires. And yeah, maybe you don't have the same amount of training, but in close confines, where literally all you're doing is holding up your shield, deflecting blows, and trying to stab when you have an opportunity, I mean, it kind of evens up the odds, to be honest. So that's a bit of what's happening in this engagement. Again, not too much. This is where, like I said, I was telling my ally to start pulling back forces, so he's going to do that. Can't pull everything back at once because the Romans will just surge and get a chain route. But the enemy's being rather smart. Auxiliary Syrian archers are going to be firing us with some whistling shot, which not only does a little bit of damage, but also will start to reduce your morale. So they're trying to get a chain route here, and they're starting to get pretty thin on our numbers. I mean, look at the depth of this Roman force with more Evocati and Legionnaires. Yeah, we can't hold out much longer. Speaking of that, the cavalry was beaten back. I did bring in reinforcements. The Celtic slingers helped, and they spread out on both sides, but yeah. They set the gate on fire, but these two cavalry forces are going to be very dead, even in the retreat as they try and pull out. And take a lot of damage. Watch this tower as it gets in range. 4 shots into this. Does a lot of HP, but as they pull forward, they're going to come into range of the other one. Oh, that archer's a beast. Did you see that? He led the shot and nailed that horse. Yeah, so much damage being done by that tower. This tower, if you could look at the kill count, would probably have like 100 kills. I mean, it was the one shooting, you can see the range up to here. It was the one that destroyed this entire archer force. So we have a lot of thanks to pay for these tower guards. Yeah. Meanwhile, in the back, what are we doing? Well, we're refreshing our troops. I was a little worried about more units being hidden around the back and sneaking in, but so far it looks like we're pretty buttoned up in the defense. I can go ahead and fast forward because there's not too much to show. We'll use this little pause to talk a bit about Moments. So far the Moments series is doing really well. I've gotten great reception from it. You guys seem to love it. The views are there, and yeah, it's going pretty freaking awesomely. Stage 1 is done, which is the pilot series. I'm going to be launching Stage 2 here rather soon. What Stage 2 kind of involves is going to be partnering with other people, so artists, different people who run magazines, contributors, podcasters, trying to get more people involved to reduce the amount of work that I have and outsource some of the work. So that's going to be part of it. Another part of it is going to be trying to get some crowdfunding going and sponsors who can help pay for the outsourcing that I'm going to be doing. So stay tuned for that. I'm going to be announcing that on the Twitter page. So again, follow the Twitter page if you can at Invicta History or on the Facebook page. And then also next week I will be having the State of the Channel address, which we do at the end of every quarter. So I'll be having a lot of big news there. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, the crush is on. The Romans are going to be pouring on through. If the enemy were feeling a bit cheeky, what they could do is pull through our whole blob and get the surround, which they're kind of trying to do now. And they're finally going to chew through our guys. This chosen swordman here, spearman, trying to hold strong, but he is now completely surrounded. We threw in some Gallic hunters to try and bide time and occupy the enemy. It seems to be working okay. One of them is going to be holding back the entire blob, the rest of them making their way back. And this is where we're going to fall back and reform by the fireballs. Let's get a nice shot of that. The men cheering. They know what's about to happen. If those of you who've seen my sieges before, you know what fireballs and an enemy blob means. So yeah, stay tuned. Step 1 is to set the bait. So here comes the Gallic hunters, and yeah, they're going to try and bait the enemy into this little passage. So our archers are shattered and routing. So they're going to pull through, and here comes the rest of the Roman blob, led by the cavalry. Lots of veteran legionnaires, Avocati, even some Praetorians as well. Still a healthy troop count. You can see the enemy still, balance of power is very much in their favor. In an upfront field battle, they would definitely win this, but our guys are going to be holding strong. The general's bodyguard has gotten a bit ahead of himself here. Take a look at this. He was chasing my guys, seems to have been caught on that, and now he's going to get fired upon by my tower. I also have slingers with just a little bit of ammo, but I figure this is a prime target. If I'm going to knock anyone out, it is going to be the enemy general. So the legionnaires are trying to move into support, but that cavalry force, having sustained already a lot of HP damage, is going to be going down. And so there you go. Boom, the last couple of men. This guy's got a flaming arrow in his neck. Not quite sure how much longer he has in this world. He doesn't believe he has much left, and yeah, he's going to pull out and run straight for this tower. So there you go. The enemy general, his unit was wiped out, and I believe the general himself. Yep, there goes the last cavalry force, going out literally in a blaze of glory. That's hilarious. But yeah, so the main Roman blob is kind of standing still. Not quite sure what they're doing. The enemy is probably talking in chat about what they want to do. But they do have one legionary cohort, and he's moving around here. Wasn't sure what he was up to. I was a little worried that this legionary cohort with good strength could probably take out my chosen swordsman, so I'm being a little bit cheeky. I'm going to allow him to move forward, and I'm just going to cede ground. You can notice that he's taking a lot of damage from all of these towers, and they're chipping away a lot of damage. They're chipping away a lot of his health. I also have slingers going to be forming up. And so these guys are going to run through our dirty laundry, run through the hills, perhaps raid a couple of our villages, but the deeper they get sucked in, the more damage they're going to take. And this is a scene very reminiscent of Gergovia, where kind of things got out of hand. Caesar's legions, out of their own initiative, kind of assaulted the walls and made huge advances. The Gauls really weren't ready for this, and so the legions kind of poured forward. Caesar couldn't really hold it back, and so it kind of happened on its own volition. The legionnaires charging forward, climbing over the walls, and almost were going to seize the day in a very sudden turnabout. But all of a sudden, the Gallic main force realized what was happening and swarmed over the city and charged back into the Romans, some of whom were in the city, but the rest who were strung out on the walls. What ended up happening was this assault that wasn't really planned or supported, that had initial success, was all of a sudden beaten back and had a full-on retreat. Lots of centurions died, lots of Romans died, and it almost resulted in a complete collapse of many of the key Roman units, and the entire army then had to retreat in shame. It was a huge morale blow to Caesar's force, which was right now trying to show its strength. And yeah, this was a big blow and a big win for Vercingetorix. So this is what this little, I guess, moment reminds me of. So we're going to try and quadruple team this legionary cohort. More are at the gates. My slingers are going to deal with them. I'm shattering one force. The rest of the legionaries are exhausted, and the towers are going to help deal damage to them. But this is the moment that you are probably anticipating, the blob that is moving up. This is 90% of the enemy force going to be pulling up. And take a look at what we've got in store for them here. Flaming motherfucking balls. Look at this. Oh my god. Oh, you guys know what's gonna happen. So I am literally playing this game salivating. I have never seen quite this lineup here, and look at the trajectory of these balls. I mean, I was getting a full raging flaming ball boner at this point, and so my ally, I was a little worried he was going to trigger it too early, and so I'm telling my ally, yo, hold off, I got this, let me use this, because there's a bit of an art and there's a bit of a science to the flaming balls. They can be a little bit unpredictable. You have to trigger them at the right time, because up to about here they don't do any damage. They're gonna have to like activate, and so the animation will go off, they'll start rolling, and they'll start doing damage about here. Then again, you also have to consider how far they're gonna roll. At this point I'm kind of calculating, hey, you know, this force is too strung out. Most of the balls are going to hit this cluster, but they'll probably whiff. I'm looking at like the angle here. I'm like a guy on the golf course, you know, looking at the green, trying to see which way the golf ball is going to go. So yeah, I was being very cautious, and I had to wait till more units committed. The movement of the troops here seemed like it was just what I was looking for. More guys are going to start to come up, and now we're getting the critical mass where I'm starting to think, okay, this may be worth it. So let's, and I got more flaming balls in the back. So let's wait. And this is we can ignore everything else on the battlefield. This is where 90% of the forces are going to happen. This is where the decisive moment happens. And that last force over on the flank is basically getting defeated. But yeah, more guys are filling up. Let's fill up, and here we go. I'm going to set those balls alight. You can see me doing a little bit of a stutter step, but there we go. We're going to trigger those flaming balls, and here they come rolling down. Oh my god, here he comes! Doing absurd amounts of damage, and we bowl a strike. Look at this. Oh my god. So much damage. Look at this. How much blood that is. So the Romans are going to start pouring forward, and I say, fuck it. Fuck it. Send all the balls. It doesn't matter. So I'm going to pop the second one. Yes, my ally is here, but it doesn't matter. Let's take a look at this. He has 2 chosen swordsmen. The balance bar is dead even. And now let's take a look as I get these flaming balls off at the Roman force. Good God. Oh my god. I'm sorry. I live for this. This is so good. We can watch this in slow motion for a little bit. Jesus Christ. Oh my god. Money shot. Literally everything pouring through the center. Good God. Good grief, Charlie Brown. Oh dear God. I wish I knew he was here. This is totally worth it. Man. And there you go. Look at the balance bar now, completely in our favor. That shattered this entire force. Look at how many Roman dead there are. Yeah, it killed a lot of these chosen swordmen, carved a swath through it, but that was totally worth it. Now we're going to fire into this from the side with Celtic Scorpions, other units, and I'm going to start to snipe the general's bodyguard. He's here at 7 units. My slingers are also going to target him, and it looks like the general here is going to go down. Oh, picking himself back up. That's a weird glitch. But yeah, once he goes down, oh! Wow, that was an amazing projectile hit. That took out like 3 of the generals. So there we go, the general is down, and that's going to start to have a complete collapse on the Roman legions. So Vercingetorix probably wishes he'd research flaming ball technology. And there goes the entire Roman force, retreading their steps, and that is it for the battle. But my god, was that freaking satisfying. So I hope you stayed. Well, obviously, if you're here, you stayed to the end of the battle, because that was quite the reward to see that flaming ball. I live for that. It is so fun. But yeah, that's it for this battle. Hope you guys enjoyed. Stay tuned for more, and definitely, please, go ahead and check out the Twitter page if you're interested in history. I'll be sharing more of my research and in-progress work. Again, it's Invicta History. Same thing on Facebook. I will link those below. And then stay tuned for the State of the Channel address at the end of this quarter, which is next week pretty much, where we'll be discussing kind of where we go from here and the State of the Moment series. So yeah, that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed. And let's end the replay. But before we end it completely, let's take a look at some of the stats. So my ally, Lasagna Larry, with 950 kills. I got most of them. Got more, yeah, the most kills of the whole battle. We can look at my ally, most of it being from the Gallic Hunters in close support. Triple Chevron doing good work. Chosen Swordsman doing okay. These were most of the guys just holding the line. Like I said, it was mostly it was a grind out fight that I don't think he was going to win, and so it was mostly just the fact that they were holding and shooting into it that was beneficial. But the rest of the troops not doing super well. My guys, Oathsworn doing really good. Chosen doing really well. Celtic Scorpion 62. Celtic Slingers doing okay, 75 and 80. I mean, those were trading against Legionnaires, so those are worth it. These two kind of got shot up by archers, and so not really trading too well, although an argument could be made that they were delaying fire from the archers onto them as opposed to my own troops, so some benefit still there. And the heavy horse here, not really paying for itself. On the other side, no one really getting that many kills. Delup 2003 here. We can look at most of his guys. Cavalry did nothing. Archers, yeah, I think archers on both sides did work. And then Legionary cohorts doing pretty good. History Lord here did most of the battle. I think he was the guy, yeah, he was the first army that was assaulting us that really got most of his troops up. And so he got the most kills. And that, you know, give 2 armies that perform like that, and myself and my ally probably would have died. But it's really the fact that Ligueva here just got absolutely shattered and bushwhacked, or however you want to put it. He got flaming balled, I guess is the way to put it. 245 kills out of 1,400 men. Yikes. Yikes, 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 yikes. These guys just got run over by flaming balls in the end. So anyways, that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Stay tuned for more, and see you in the next one. Peace out.